Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something just a little bit different today.
Yeah, a bit of a departure from the usual.
Right, because usually we're unpacking, modern tech trends or diving into recent history books. But today we are looking at a truly foundational text, a classic.
An absolute classic.
We are opening up Dungeon Module B2, the Keep on the Borderlands.
For an entire generation of geeks, I mean, this was the entry point. This is literally the very first time they ever rolled a 20-sided die.
Right, and specifically, we're looking at the section called the Caves of Chaos. And I think the mistake people make when they look back at this module, or if they just know it by reputation, is thinking it's just, a video game level.
Yeah, the old kick down the door, kill the monster, get the loot mentality.
Exactly, just simple and straightforward.
Which is such a huge misconception when you actually sit down and read the source material. And we are talking about the original text here, not the later remakes or adaptations. You realize it isn't just a dungeon.
It's an ecosystem.
Right, it's an ecology. It's this messy, breathing political system that just happens to be disguised as a hole in the ground.
And that is exactly our mission today. We are going to walk through this ravine, cave by cave, and really unpack the social structure of what is essentially an apartment complex of evil.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
But before we meet the neighbors, I want to start with the visuals.
Yeah.
Because the module is very specific about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it is not a nice place.
Not at all. The text describes this transition from the safety of the keep to the actual Borderlands. You are hacking through this twisted, incredibly dense forest.
And the trees aren't just trees.
Right. They are explicitly described as misshapen, and the roots are writhing. It sets this really dark psychological tone before you even draw your sword.
And then you finally step out into the ravine itself. And the scale is what really hit me reading through this. These aren't just little rolling hills.
No.
We're talking about 100-foot sheer walls of rock.
Streaked with black and red strata, it feels geological and ancient. And the text uses a very specific word to describe the feeling: oppressive.
Oppressive.
It says adventurers get this distinct feeling that something evil is watching them. And that isn't just flavor text to scare the players.
That's a literal warning.
Exactly. Because things are watching them. The sensory details are designed to trigger that fight-or-flight response instantly.
You've got the vulture.
Yes, you have a vulture perched on a dead tree, and the text explicitly says it is gazing hungrily.
Just waiting for you to drop.
Right, and you have flocks of ravens croaking, and if you look at the ground, it's not just dirt or rocks, it's a graveyard.
The line that stuck with me was bones and skulls of men, animals, and other things.
It signals immediately that this is a high fatality zone. You aren't the first hero to come here, and the previous ones definitely didn't make it home. It tells a story of failure before you even begin.
So you were standing in this ravine of death, surrounded by these 100-foot walls, and you see these cave mouths, just black holes in the rock face at different heights.
Like doors in an apartment building.
Exactly. So let's start with the bottom rung of the ladder, the low-rent district, if you will, the kobolds in Area A.
Kobolds are fascinating because in the broader hierarchy of the game, they are so often treated as the joke. They are the absolute bottom of the barrel.
Right. So for the listener who hasn't touched a character sheet in 20 years or maybe never has, explain what we're dealing with here physically.
Physically, they are completely negligible. They have a half-hit die.
Meaning they have almost no health.
Basically, they are made of wet tissue paper. A stiff breeze or a single solid swing of a sword is going to kill a kobold. They are small, they are weak, and they know it.
But that's what makes them so dangerous in this specific ecosystem,
Yeah.
right? Because they're still alive.
Exactly. If you are that weak in a ravine full of giant monsters, you have to be smart. You have to be wily. They don't survive by being strong, they survive by being engineers.
And the text details their entrance defense. And it is honestly one of the nastiest traps in the whole module.
It is brilliant in its sheer simplicity. So you walk into the dark cave. About 30 feet in, there is a pit.
Now, pit traps are pretty standard fantasy fare.
Right. It's 10 feet deep. You fall in, you take a little damage. Fine. But this one has a lid that is counterweighted.
Walk us through the mechanics of how that plays out.
Okay, so the front rank of the party, which is usually your big, heavily armored fighter, steps on the lid. The weight triggers it. They fall in.
Ouch.
But instantly, because of the counterweight, the lid snaps shut right above them and locks into place.
That is the ultimate nightmare scenario.
It completely splits the party. The strongest fighter is now in a hole, in the dark, separated from the healer and the wizard by a locked wooden floor.
And while the rest of the party is freaking out on the surface trying to pry this lid open,
The kobolds attack from the shadows.
it turns what should be a minor annoyance into a massive tactical disaster.
And if the noise and the spears don't kill you, the sanitation department might. The kobolds here have actually domesticated giant rats.
I loved this detail so much. Domesticated giant rats. It almost sounds like a contradiction in terms.
But it's highly practical. They use them as garbage disposals and organic alarm systems. But the source material gives us this really incredible character detail about the huge fellow.
The huge fellow.
That's what the text calls him. This is the alpha rat,
Like the Rat King.
essentially. But he isn't just a big random animal. The text notes he wears a thin silver chain with 5 small gems.
Wait, the rat is wearing jewelry.
The rat is wearing bling. And think about what that tells the player. Someone had to put that chain on him.
It implies a real relationship.
Yes. The kobolds value this creature enough to decorate it. It adds this entire layer of culture to what would otherwise just be another monster in a room. It's a status symbol for them.
So you somehow get past the rats and the traps, and you move down the ravine to the orcs, areas B and C. Now, if the kobolds are all about engineering, the orcs seem to be entirely about branding.
Terror branding. The description of their entrance is incredibly graphic. The walls are checkerboarded with little niches, and inside those niches are heads.
Just heads sitting there.
Humans, elves, dwarves. Some are fresh, some are just old spills.
It's a very literal trespassers will be executed sign made of body parts.
It creates immediate, visceral hostility. But here's where reading the actual text really pays off. If you just run in swinging your sword, you miss the entire political reality of the situation.
Right.
The source material reveals that these aren't just one big group of orcs. There are 2 entirely distinct tribes inhabiting these caves.
Tribe B and Tribe C.
And they hate each other. They are bitter rivals.
Why don't they just wipe each other out? I mean, they're living right next door to each other, and they're heavily armed.
That is the big mystery. And the answer is hidden deep inside the rock. Area 13, the Forgotten Room.
I love this part.
This is a secret cave that physically connects the 2 layers.
Like a hidden back door.
A completely secret back door? And the text says only the leaders of the 2 tribes know it even exists. They meet there secretly to plan cooperative ventures.
That is just incredible to me. So the average orc grunt in the trench thinks, man, we hate those guys over in Cave C. But the bosses are actually having secret board meetings to coordinate raids.
It's total political manipulation. It shows a level of intelligence that really makes them scary. They understand that if they fight each other openly, the adventurers or the hobgoblins down the street will just wipe them out while they're weak.
So they maintain this secret alliance to survive.
Exactly.
Speaking of alliances and tactics, Tribe C has a defense mechanism that really caught my eye. The bells.
Oh, the weighted net trap, yes. This is another great example of them using their environment.
Yeah.
These tripwires, just strings pulled taut low to the ground.
And if you hit them,
A heavy net drops from the ceiling to tangle you up, and a bunch of bells start ringing, echoing down the cave.
so it's an alarm system.
Yeah, it is. And the text actively advises the dungeon master that if those bells ring, the orcs do not just charge blindly down the hall. They form a defensive line. They use the terrain to their advantage.
It reinforces this idea that the caves of chaos actually respond to you. You aren't acting in a vacuum.
You're in their house now.
Let's move over to the goblins in Area D. We've had the crafty kobolds and the political orcs. The goblins seem, well, a bit more chaotic.
They definitely are. But this section gives us a really fascinating lesson in game linguistics. There's a specific phrase the module highlights in the text, Briark.
Briark. It sounds like something you'd shout while charging into battle. Or maybe while dying.
Or surrendering. The text actually warns the dungeon master specifically about this. Players might hear the goblins shouting Briark and naturally interpret this as I surrender or please spare me.
Which would be a very fatal assumption.
Because it actually translates to Hey Rube.
Hey, Rube. That's old carnival slang, isn't it? Like, the locals are fighting us. Come help.
Exactly. It is a desperate cry for backup. So if a player hears Briark and lowers their sword thinking they've won the fight, they are about to get absolutely swarmed.
And they are just calling other goblins. This brings us to the economics of the ravine. The goblins actually have a contractor.
The ogre in Area E. This is easily one of my favorite relationships in the whole module. You have this massive, dangerous monster living in a cave adjacent to the goblins.
But he isn't a goblin.
No, he's a mercenary.
And he has a very specific rate for his services.
He does. The protocol is laid out clearly. Goblins yell Briark, they run to his door, and they toss in a sack of 250 gold pieces.
That is a lot of money in this game's economy.
It's a fortune for a low-level party of adventurers, but it buys immediate violence. The ogre comes out swinging his club. However, the text notes that the ogre is, above all, a pragmatist.
He's a businessman.
He likes gold. He hates copper.
Hates copper.
The text specifically says he hates copper coins, probably because they are incredibly heavy and essentially worthless to someone of his stature. But here's the real kicker. If the players are smart, they can outbid the goblins.
Wait, really? You could just buy him off?
The source says if the adventurers offer him a significant sum, and crucially, if he can visually see the gold, he is 90% likely to just take the money and let them pass without a fight.
So you don't even have to fight the boss monster. You just have to pay him more than his current employer.
It turns a standard combat encounter into a tense negotiation. It rewards players who think, wait, what does this guy actually want, rather than just asking, how do I kill him? It makes the world feel transactional and real.
Now contrast that mercenary mindset with the hobgoblins over in Area F. These guys felt completely different to me. The text describes them as military.
Very military. If the goblins are a chaotic street gang, the hobgoblins are a trained regiment. They wear chainmail, they have a dedicated armory, they have a torture chamber. They are organized, disciplined, and very cruel.
And they have a very dark sense of humor. There's an actual sign on their door.
Come in, we'd like to have you for dinner.
It's a dad joke. A literal cannibal dad joke.
It's awful, but it shows their confidence. They aren't hiding from anyone. They are inviting you in because they are completely confident they can kill you.
And they have plenty of reason to be. Their leader, the big boss, is walking around in plate mail.
Which makes him very hard to hit for a low-level character. But the detail that really struck me is in his personal room, he has a fireplace.
Okay.
And in the kindling wood next to the fire, deliberately hidden amongst the sticks, is a wand of paralyzation.
Just sitting in a pile of wood.
Yes. It's a very high-level magic item, and it's a brilliant trap for the player's assumptions. They see a huge fighter in heavy armor. They immediately think physical threat. They expect a sword fight.
They don't expect him to pull out a magic wand and just freeze them in place.
Exactly. It's that theme again. Never assume you know what you are looking at. The brute might actually be a wizard.
Okay, so we've covered the organized groups, the tribes, the mercenaries. Now I really want to look at the weird stuff. The things that even the orcs and hobgoblins stay away from. Area G, the shunned cavern.
The name really says it all. You have to ask, why is there prime real estate in this incredibly crowded ravine that absolutely nobody is living in?
And it's not just because of the smell.
No, it's the local ecology. Inside, you have an owl bear, which is a massive bear with an owl's head, terrifying in its own right. But the real hidden danger is the gray ooze.
I feel like the gray ooze is one of those monsters that sounds a bit boring until you actually fight it. It's just slime.
But it looks exactly like wet stone. That's the problem. You walk into a dark cave, you see a puddle, you step in it, the ooze strikes. But the true horror of the gray ooze isn't the physical damage it deals to your health.
It's what it does to your gear.
It dissolves metal fast.
Oh, man.
So your fighter, who just spent all his starting gold on that shiny new chainmail, gets hit. Suddenly, his armor dissolves into a puddle of gray sludge.
He is basically naked.
His armor class drops to 0.
And there is a hungry owl bear waiting in the very next room.
Precisely. It strips you of your primary defenses right before you face the heavy hitter. It's a lethal 1-2 punch that the environment itself throws at you.
Moving along the ravine, we get to the bugbears in Area H. They seem to be the bullies of the whole complex.
Large, hairy, and surprisingly lazy. The text often places them just lounging around by the fire, but they are incredibly dangerous. And they also have a sign on their door, which is another complete lie.
Safety, security, and repose for all humanoids.
Which sounds like a spa or a nice hotel.
That's a trap.
It's a trap to lure in slaves. The bugbears are slavers. And this is where we find a really tragic narrative seed buried in the text. Among their slaves is a character designated as a hero.
A specific NPC.
Yes, a 4th-level fighter. Now, to put that in perspective for you, in this version of the game, a 4th-level fighter is a serious combat veteran.
They're stronger than the players at this point.
Much stronger than the starting players likely are. But he has been driven completely mad by his captivity.
He's broken.
The text describes him as a wild man with staring eyes. If the players manage to free him, he doesn't just say thank you and join the party to fight evil. He might actually attack them out of panic, Or he might just run screaming into the woods.
It really subverts that classic trope of rescue the prisoner, get a powerful ally.
You rescue the prisoner here, and you just get a massive liability. It's very dark.
And speaking of liabilities, the bugbears have a neighbor they have a very strange arrangement with. The Minotaur over in Area I.
The Minotaur. Classic Greek mythology right in the dungeon. He lives in a maze, naturally, but the mechanic here is just brutal for the players.
What, yeah.
The moment they enter his area, a spell of direction confusion hits them.
How did that actually work at the table when you're playing?
Well, in old school play, players have to physically draw their own maps on graph paper as they explore. It's crucial to their survival to know the way out. This spell forces the dungeon master to actively lie to them. The DM says, "You are walking north," but because of the spell, they are actually walking east.
So their map becomes completely useless. They get hopelessly lost in the maze.
And while they are lost and confused, the Minotaur hunts them. But the bugbears know all about this. They actually have a trade agreement.
A trade agreement with a Minotaur.
They feed slaves to the Minotaur human sacrifices, essentially, and in exchange, the Minotaur acts as a super heavy tank if the upper caves are ever attacked.
It's a meat for protection racket.
It creates a defensive perimeter. Again, these monsters are cooperating across species lines. It creates a web of relationships that the players have to navigate.
So we have climbed all the way through the ravine. We've seen the warring tribes, the intricate traps, the dark deals. Now we finally have to go to the top, the northern end. Area K, the Shrine of Evil Chaos.
This is the grand finale, and the vibe shifts completely here. You leave the natural damp caves and enter hewn rock. The walls are explicitly described with red strata and bulging black veins.
It sounds like the rock itself is infected, like the evil has physically seeped into the geology of the place.
It's a deeply corrupted place, and the soundscape changes too. You hear a faint groaning, a shrill piping sound, and occasionally the toll of the great bell.
That bell isn't calling people for a church service.
No. When that bell rings, it summons the undead. But these aren't just your standard mindless shamblers. The skeletons and zombies here wear actual uniforms.
Red and black tabards.
They are an organized army.
And for the cleric in the party, the religious warrior whose primary job is to repel the undead, there's a very nasty surprise waiting here.
The amulets of protection from turning. Usually a cleric can hold up their holy symbol and the skeletons just run away in fear. Here, it simply doesn't work, or it's significantly harder.
It strips the players of one of their core reliable tools right at the climax.
Exactly. But the absolute biggest twist, the thing that I think defines the dark tone of this entire module, is found in the prison cells, Area 64.
Oh yeah, yes. The Fair Maiden.
It's the oldest fantasy trope in the book. You find a dark cell. Inside is a beautiful woman chained to the wall. She looks entirely innocent. She desperately needs your help.
But the text specifically notes she is partly obscured in the shadows. You don't see her face clearly immediately.
And when she steps into the light,
It's a Medusa.
game over. You look at her, you roll to save versus stone, or you turn into a statue permanently. It is a vicious, emotionally manipulative trap.
She uses her charisma and the player's innate desire to be heroes just to lure them in.
Right.
But here's the thing that really stuck with me about this encounter. Why is a Medusa chained up in a shrine of chaos?
That's the real question.
She's a monster. She fits the aesthetic perfectly.
Yeah.
Why is she locked in a cell?
This is the deep lore that you completely miss if you just skim the text. The module implies she is actually a prisoner of the evil priest who runs the shrine.
The boss of the dungeon imprisoned another boss.
Yes. He plans to sacrifice her to a demon eventually. And the text notes he even keeps a rare potion of stone to flesh nearby.
Why would he need that?
The implication is a horrifying cycle of torture. Think about it. He might use her to turn his enemies to stone. Then, he uses the potion to turn them back to flesh so he can interrogate them.
Oh.
Or perhaps he turns her victims back just to torture them himself. Or even darker, he turns the Medusa herself to stone just to keep her quiet when he doesn't need her, then revives her.
That is incredibly bleak.
It is, but it tells you absolutely everything you need to know about the Caves of Chaos.
Right. Because we tend to think of evil as one big unified team monster. But here, the evil priest is victimizing the Medusa. The bugbears are eating people but enslaving the Minotaur. The orcs are chopping heads off elves, but they're also actively plotting against the orcs right next door.
It raises a fascinating philosophical question. Is there really a unified side of evil, or is this just pure chaos? The source material strongly suggests that evil, by its very definition, cannot truly cooperate long term.
It always eats itself eventually.
Always. So if you are an adventurer walking into this ravine, you aren't fighting a unified dark army, you are walking into a complex civil war.
And the smartest adventurers, the ones who actually survive the keep on the Borderlands, are the ones who figure that out early. They don't just hack and slash everything they see.
They realize they can bribe the ogre to fight the hobgoblins for them. They can lure the minotaur out into the orc encampment.
They weaponize the dysfunction.
Exactly. The dungeon is a massive puzzle, not just a combat arena.
And one final note for anyone running this or playing it today, the module heavily emphasizes that this place is alive.
Yes. The text gives very specific instructions to the dungeon master about time passing. If the players kill half a tribe and then leave for a week to heal up in town, the monsters do not just freeze in time waiting for them to come back.
They restock.
They rearm, they set brand new traps. Maybe the orcs from Tribe B completely take over the empty caves of Tribe C. The ecosystem actually heals the womb that you made.
So the clock is always ticking. The world continues to move even when you aren't looking at it.
Always. It's a living, breathing space.
That is a fantastic place to leave it today. The Caves of Chaos.
Yeah.
It's clearly not just a hole in the ground filled with loot, but a masterclass in ecology, economics, and betrayal.
And whatever you do, don't forget the pit traps.
Never forget the pit traps, especially the counterweighted ones. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.